Good morning, dear class 10 students. Dear students, we have already started the chapter 3, the first phase of Indian national movement. And in this chapter, we are basically discussing about the early nationalists' contribution, their demands, and their participation in the national movement for the freedom of the nation. So, in the last video class, we have seen up to the belief of the early nationalists. Today we will continue with the point demands of the early nationalists. So, being the first members of the Indian National Congress, now these all Indian leaders, they started demanding to the British in the some areas. That means with the demands they wanted some changes in the political areas, economical areas, and also in the civil areas. So let us start with the constitutional reforms. So the early nationalists wanted a large share in the government of their country. So early nationalists wanted the big membership in the present government. That means they also wanted to be the part of the administrative body under the British government. They believed that eventually Indians should move towards democratic self-government. So they actually were in the mood of having the democratic system in India, and also they wanted to have the self-government, their own government, their own administrative body. However, they did not ask for the immediate achievements of their goals, but these all demands the early nationalists did not make immediately or suddenly, but they made these all demands slowly, one after another, because they had a fear if they will put forth all the demands together, then the demands will be suppressed and their demands will be not considered seriously, and in this way they will lose their importance in front of the British government. So there are the certain points which are basically at the point of the constitutional reforms. So let us deal with these all points. First one, abolition of the Indian Council. So in early nationalists demanded that let the Indian Council should be removed or finished. Number two, expansion of the Legislative Council and Legislative Assembly both at the center and the provinces. So Indian leaders said that the Legislative Council and the Legislative Assembly should be expanded or should be made more bigger or widened both in the center and provinces. Number three, increase in the membership of the Indian, including some members elected by the local bodies like chambers of commerce, universities, etc., in these councils, and whatever councils are there, central level or in the provincial level, let the membership of the Indians should be more, and also some of the members should be elected from the chambers of commerce and also from the universities. And after they becomes they become the member of council, they should be given the greater responsibilities to work in these councils. They demanded Indian control over the public purse, and also they demanded that the Indian money should be controlled by them. The expenses, its calculation, and also about the taxes and so on, that should be completely controlled by the Indian council members only. And also they said that unless the Indian leaders get the membership, there will be no one giving the taxes to the British. Number four, by the beginning of the 20th century, they made a demand for Swarajya or self-government. So they also said that the Indian people and we want the self government within the British Empire or British government, and exactly like the self government which are seen in Canada and Australia. Number 5, adequate representation of Indian in the Executive Council for the Viceroy and those of the governors. So the proper representation should be given to the Indians in the Executive Council and also in the Council of the Viceroy. So this is the constitutional reform, dear students. Now let us go to the economical reform. The economic issues raised by the alliances including, so in the economical area also they want to bring some changes. So what are the changes they made it? Let us see to it. First, reduction in the land revenue. So first of all they said that the land revenue should be reduced, and also the protection should be given to the peasant class against the unjust zamindars. Number 3, reduction in the expenditures on the army, and also the money which is used for the army, let that also should be reduced, and the basically the money should be used for the welfare of the countrymen and also for opening the health and the education centers. Number 3, an inquiry into Indians' growing poverty and famine, and the British should inquiry about the growing poverty of the country and also the people who are widely affected by the famine. So let the British should focus on the removal of poverty and the people who are affected by the famines, let the British should take care of them. Number 4, availability of the cheap credit to peasants through agriculture banks, and the farmers should be provided the loans, easy loans from the agriculture banks. So that is the economical reform. And also the last two points are there: development of banking, irrigations and medical and health facilities for the people, and also the government should much taken care about the banking of the countries would call the industries, and also the irrigation facilities should be provided, medical health facility for the people of the country. Now we have number 6, the industrial growing through trade protection. So industries also should be encouraged to grow up, and that means that the heavy taxes shouldn't be imposed on the imported goods, and the government should give loans for the development of iron, coal, paper and sugar industries in India. So this is what we have the points. And number 7, total abolition of the salt tax, and salt tax should be completely ended, and the taxes should be taken on sugar.